They say browsers are like relationships. Some are fast, some are flashy, some just take up too much memory. So, what happens when a new one shows up promising peace and privacy and personality, all in one sleek little package? Way too good to be true, right? But no, well, maybe. It is Zen Browser, though. This is an open source browser that everyone's kind of whispering about right now. But is it really the creator's browser? A lot of people are claiming this. Or is it just Firefox with a good skincare routine? Hey, it's Kaitlyn and welcome back to GBRLIFE Reviews, where I test the tools, apps, and platforms so you don't waste your time or your sanity. And if you've been around here before, you already know I've tested some of the big names in the browser world, from Brave Browser to Arc Browser, which basically turned your internet into a design project. But Zen Browser? Okay, so this one had me curious. And today we're going to be diving into it, but right after my quick intro while you like and subscribe.
Welcome to GBRLIFE. We'll talk big love, everything in the mix. So bring your board, your bite, your bright. You're home now, babe. This is GBRLIFE. Ooh, this is GBRLIFE.
What is Zen Browser? Well, it's basically Firefox, but minimal, customizable, and privacy focused. Where Chrome and Edge feel like corporate offices, crowded, noisy, and tracking your every move, Zen feels like walking into a calm coffee shop with lo-fi music in the background. Those are my favorite. It's open source, which means there's no giant company like Google or Microsoft controlling what happens behind the scenes. The code is transparent, and the developers are community-driven. And their promise is there's no Google tracking, no bloat, and no nonsense. And beyond privacy, Zen's all about comfort. You can make it look and feel and function however you want. And that's something that most browsers pretend to offer, but rarely actually deliver. Let me show you what I mean. Right in front of you, Zen Browser. Is it searching GBRLIFE? Of course it is. So that you know that there's all this stuff with GBRLIFE that you can go and check out, including the clothing line. But more importantly, what you need to know is that it's very easy to download. You literally just go over to their site and click download. They do have a Mac option and a Windows option. And here's the cool part. Depending on what system you're using, it automatically knows. And it's like, hey, here's your Mac or here's your Windows, which is kind of cool, a little creepy all at the same time, but these things actually happen. And there is no forced logins. So you are not automatically providing any of your data before you even get a chance to see that Arc. I'm looking at you for that one. Plus, the interface is pretty clean. I mean, you see things right here on the side. You have some of your bookmarks. This is where you actually do your search. I mean, of course, you're going to use a browser, but this is where you're going to enter in your websites and links and whatnot. You also have the opportunity to find your extensions, the rest of your bookmarks, screen sharing or screenshots, and uploads and downloads, which you can also find right here in the corner, your downloads. But you can say I also have, let me just go ahead and switch over to one of the other workspaces, and there is an ad, and I'll actually get into that in just a moment. But right here on the YouTube side of things, I had it over here in a different workspace, but I'm able to still deal with this functionality simply by going straight to the main workspace, and there it is. So I can still listen and deal with whatever I want to on the YouTube side without actually being in that workspace, because it's still all one unit, if that makes sense. So these are some of just the fun little quirky designs of it, but I did want you to kind of see that it automatically gives you that good vibe. It's kind of calm. There's really nothing intense about it. Even the colors are calm. You can change these colors and make it into whatever you want, but all the color options are very based on keeping it a calm, that I keep saying, environment. And that's really what they're going for, a well-designed, kind of pretty environment. It doesn't overload you with features either, because you can actually say, you don't want to see this right here. You can get rid of it, or you can bring it right back and leave it right there. And it can give you a nice environment where what you want and need is in front of you, but what you don't want and don't need are not overwhelming you. And of course, customization is based off of what you're seeing in front of you here, but they also have the mods, where you can really customize and decide whether or not you want things like a menu button or hide the reset button. Different things that you're looking for within your browser, they've given you the control to do it. Colored container tab. I think this is pretty cool. Color halo. But here's also some stuff that you might not realize that you can remove in something like this. No side scroll bar. Double clicklessness. These are tongue twister of words for the Kaitlyn. Your load bar, you can add one of those, but you can also hide the extension name. It's pretty customizable what you're able to do right here on Zen Browser, because it's all about you. And it's done in a way that's very quiet about it. They're not doing big things and flashing in your face. You can only find the mods by going over to their website, but it's completely free. You can just go ahead and click on it and make that happen. And because it's based on Firefox, it removes all of that Google code, but there are trackers, a little bit of data collection in general. And here's where I'm going to show you that. If I just go right back over to GBRLIFE, okay, and so there's an ad that's popped up. So there is still a little bit going on in the background, but they're not selling your data, which is quite nice. But everything isn't sunshine and rainbows here. Some of the things I don't like, I did go over to the website, but let me actually go straight back over to this right here. There you go. See, a little bit of a moment to load, especially because there was a few more ads involved in it. So while this is nice, it's not super fast the way that something like Brave is. Brave really is the fastest browser that I've ever experienced. If you know of any other ones, please drop that below because I would love to review that next. But because Zen strips out all the Google code, for example, I have Netflix over here now. I didn't experience this issue, but there were quite a few people who did say that they had a few issues with streaming because the DRM support is gone. I don't suspect it's going to be the deal breaker, but you could deal with a few bugs. And speaking of bugs, they do get quite a few. The good news is they're constantly working on it. This is more of a beta software. So if I go over here to their release notes, you can see on the change log that they are adding in what they're fixing and when. And also because this is a Firefox-based browser, you are not really going to be able to utilize those Chrome-only extensions. So Firefox extensions, which covers most basics like uBlock, Bitwarden, that's still an option. But if you are dealing with Chrome-only extensions, unfortunately, you're just going to have to miss them using this. So all the little features of this, really quickly before we leave, this is one of the workspaces that you can easily create. You just click on that. You can create spaces, folders. You can also split. So if I want to add this right here, you can see GBRLIFE at the same time as the changelog for Zen Browser, which is quite nice. You can, of course, utilize your audio at the same time. There's quite a lot it can do. And again, if you're using those mods, you can add to it and really search and add in a few more things. It's kind of your extension fix, if you will. But I'm sure most of you would also like to know, how does this browser really compare against Arc and Brave? Because those are the big ones right now. So if we're first looking at Brave, I think the thing to understand and really take into consideration is that it's all about privacy. It's for your privacy purists. It blocks everything, loads fast, and occasionally throws crypto in your face. They're trying to bring you into a world where it is just your own, and everything else that is bad and can hurt you has been blocked out, and it is so fast. I absolutely love Brave, and I think it's a great one for a lot of people to utilize. Go ahead and check out Brave. Then you have Arc. Well, Arc Browser is quite nice in the sense that it's all about the aesthetically pleasing experience. If that's what you're looking for and you just want to feel pretty while you're doing anything on the internet, Arc is for you because, again, I wrote here, it's a design lover option. It's gorgeous, but frankly, it's kind of extra. For me, this is more about aesthetics, not so much about privacy and not so much about speed. But it is nice to use, does kind of remind me of Zen. And speaking of Zen, I call it the balanced one. It does not carry the privacy experience from Brave to that degree. It does not carry the large amount of aesthetically pleasing aesthetics within Arc. But if you were to take those two, put it together, I do think that you end up with Zen. It is absolutely calm and clean. And yes, it is creator friendly, but it's just friendly for anybody who's just looking for that good balance between all of these things. Because if Brave is too much for you and Arc is too little for you, or just too much on the design, Zen might be the perfect fit for you. And for you to really understand that, I want to go back over those pros and cons because it may have been a little confusing. So within Zen, your pros, I've said it a few times, it's clean. And I think most of us are looking for an opportunity to browse the web without it being and feeling chaotic, especially with ads. And yes, because of the fact that it is not Google, it is not Chrome, that means you are dealing with Firefox, which means you are not dealing with Google code, which means you do have more privacy. And you have those workspaces and all that ability to do with your layouts and workspaces and customization that you might want. It's there. They have those mods, those different colors, and adding a sidebar. I mean, you name it, and they've basically made it an option. Why? Because it's community driven and open source. That's one of the reasons you're always going to find something like that within Zen. And I mean, I did write that it feels calm, intentional, and focused, which kind of goes along with clean, minimalist interface, but I don't know any other way to say it. They're right. They're Zen. They actually are Zen. But the cons here is that it is slower. And for someone like myself, I want it to be quick. And that's where that Brave browser comes back in and it just outdoes everybody. If you want to see more about that, of course, I do have the Brave review and you can always check that out. But then there's also those minor bugs. And I mean, I feel like they're working on it. And I did write the limited streaming capability, but here's the truth. I didn't experience it, but people were saying it. So I can't speak to it, but people are saying they had issues with that. And I bet you're wondering what all this costs. This is completely free. You download it and it's yours. It's open source. If you want Zen, go for it. Go download it. It has nothing to do with cost. So is it worth it? Because that's where we're into that big question, right? My thing, I think that browsers are personal. They do shape how we interact with basically everything online. So the Zen browser feels like it was made for people who want to take that back. And to me, that means if you're a solo creator or freelancer or a small business owner, I think that Zen browser is absolutely worth a try, especially if you spend hours online researching, creating, and managing multiple projects. In other words, choose Zen Browser if you care about privacy, but you don't want to live in your settings menu, or you like the idea of a customizable calm workspace, or you're tired of browsers that feel like digital billboards for big tech. But I would say skip this entirely if you rely heavily on Chrome-only extensions or Google integrations, or you need perfect Netflix, Hulu playback with no tinkering and obviously no issues with glitches whatsoever. If that really bothers you, not for you. Also, if you prioritize raw speed over experience, it's fast, but it's not that fast in comparison to something, again, like Brave. So Zen isn't really about flash. It's about focus. And if you want something that looks good, respects your privacy, and doesn't ask for anything in return, this is a solid addition to your creator toolkit or your business toolkit or your personal life and just hanging out on the web toolkit. And that is why I'm going to give Zen the GBRLIFE rating of a 4 out of 5. We're on a 4 streak. Here's the deal. Zen it's quite nice. That's really what it boils down to. It has some privacy and it's quite nice. I'm obsessed with Brave. I'm obsessed with Opera. I love certain ones, but Zen definitely made me say, you know what? This might be something I might consider, but it's not perfect. And because of that, I had to remove a star because while it does deliver exactly what it promises, a calm, intentional browsing experience for people who are over, the chaos, and it's not trying to be Brave and it's not trying to be Arc, but it does have its few quirks too, so I can't say it's a 5 out of 5 when it knowingly has issues. It's not perfect, but if they get that privacy really fixed and make it a whole lot more like Brave in the privacy way, I think that Zen may be the next big competitor to something as big as Brave, and with the aesthetics, might also be a big competitor with Arc. Would you switch to Zen Browser, or are you still loyal to your current setup? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I love hearing what all of you are actually using and doing on a day-to-day with all of these tools, so please let me know in the comments. And that's it for this week's review. But if you haven't seen my last videos on Brave Browser or Arc Browser, go watch those next. They'll give you a full picture of how these browsers actually stack up against each other. And you can find all of that on the GBRLIFE Reviews Unfiltered Opinions playlist. Or check out my review from last week on something entirely different, Calendly, the tool that claims to handle all of your scheduling needs with one link. And with all of my content on GBRLIFE.com or my fabulous Mama Koala clothing line, you don't have to be without GBRLIFE in your life. Now go watch more GBRLIFE reviews. They're all waiting for you right here. Bye!
Not your bid